Hi, and thank you for joining us today on The Road to Recovery. I'm your host, Ronda Jackson, serial entrepreneur and small business advocate. And today, joining us again is Miss Jessica Tor. I'm going to call you the financial guru from now on because you come in dropping knowledge. And last time you talked about financial literacy, and today we're going to talk about what to do with it. So if we have our hypothetical retiring female like myself, right? And we're just
Yes.
going to kind of mold a conversation around how to get through that journey. So how to get to where you want to be. So thank you again for joining us, Jessica.
Thank you for having me.
Well, for those of others that haven't seen the other two episodes that Jessica's been on, so click the link below and subscribe so you're aware when we get all these great tips from experts that come on to the show. Jessica, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been an entrepreneur for more than 15 years, and I actually have now been in the financial services industry for over a year. However, what I believe that makes me different is the fact that I have a business background in being an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
starting from nothing and then growing my company. And I think when you have that, you're able to pinpoint a lot better. Like, what are some of the things that we can do better as entrepreneurs?
Right.
And also from a financial perspective, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, like there's all these resources, that I wish I would have known when I started out. I would have made very different decisions back then. But now, one of the things that and that's the reason why I love working with female entrepreneurs, because I feel like, we're just like kindred spirits, and I could definitely relate to them to a lot of the challenges that they face.
No, and thank you for coming on the show to share at least what to do in those challenges and share your expertise. We appreciate that about you. So, us emerging and established entrepreneurs that not only want to see our businesses grow, but see the legacy of our business, right?
Exactly.
That's a beautiful thing. So let's start though, because we're just using this hypothetical number, as a female entrepreneur. If I'm interested in retiring, let's just say with $1 million or whatever that set number is, you and I are going to talk about the steps and strategies to create and places to garner that money from that you enlightened me. I didn't even think about some of those places. So how would we start that journey? So I've come to you, here's laid out my budget. We're developing our plan. Where would we start?
So where we start is establishing a foundation. Everything has to have a foundation in order for you to move to the next level. It's kind of like building a house.
Okay.
You start with the solid foundation, then you can start putting like a different wall, you put like nice, windows and things like that. But you have to have a foundation first. And one of the things that when people are doing financial planning that they don't always take into consideration is, at the end of the day, it's not how much you make, it's how much you get to keep. So
Yes.
tax diversification is very important. And one of the things that, and this was brought to my attention many years ago when I had a financial advisor. I had this business, I had all this going on, but I had young children at the time. And one of the things that I didn't take into consideration was, well, what happens if something, and a premature death happens?
Mm.
What's going to happen to their college funding? What's going to happen to the retirement funding? What's going to happen to, anything that has to do with my business?
Right.
That gets cut. So you have to put a foundation. And I had life insurance because I was like, something happens to me, my children, financially, they're going to be okay.
Okay.
The other things are going to get taken care of. So that is definitely, you have to set a foundation to make sure you protect your assets
Okay.
just in case. And that's why I said it's important for you to acknowledge, to identify what's important to you. For me, my kids, they were young, and I wanted them to, you can't replace somebody, but you can definitely help their life be a lot easier if they're financially set.
Very much so. So the first foundation, I just want to be clear, is the protection, and the protection comes in the form of insurances. Is that
Correct.
okay? All right. Just want to make sure I'm getting that. Okay. So then that's our foundation.
Yes.
What's the next layer, or what's the
The
next?
next layer is you start accumulating.
Oh, okay.
So what happens when you start accumulating, you take inventory of all your assets,
Yes.
and every single person, no matter who you are, you fall in three categories. You get we're going to call it three buckets. the bucket of tax now, and then you have like your tax later or tax defer, as they call it. And
Uh-huh.
then you have your tax never or tax free. And
Oh,
that's pretty much like assets that you pay with after tax dollars.
got it.
So the tax now bucket is usually like your home, your business, things that get taxed on a yearly basis.
European.
And
Mhm.
then your tax deferred can be anything like, your 401ks, your IRS, anything that gets deferred. And then your tax never tax free, those are Roth assets. Um, Once you take inventory of all that, then you can start seeing, okay, if I want $1 million to retire, then these are the things that I need to go ahead and take care of. If you have a business, then you need to be able to establish a foundation in your business where eventually you're going to sell it, because you know that that's going to be part of your supplemental income when you retire. When you
Right.
retire, you don't just get one thing. You get, if you have a business owner, you sell your business, you get that as your income. You have Social Security. You have, if you have a 401k plan, or if you have like IRAs and things like that, investments, if you have any like Roth IRAs or any bonds or life cash value life insurance,
Right.
then all those things get taken into consideration. And that's how you diversify not just your investments, but also you diversify your taxes as well.
I understand. Okay. So then, woo, protection.
Yes.
Then I'm just going to call it general category of tax. So
Uh-huh.
whether it's now, later, or never, which I love
Correct.
how you distinguish between all of those. And then so what goes on top of that? So we've decided our exit strategy for our business. We've diversified our options to do with our after tax money and things like that. Then what goes on top?
On top goes distribution. Now, this is the fun part,
Okay.
because this is where you get to actually, you built your nest egg.
Hmm.
Now you get to actually reap the rewards of all your hard work.
All right.
And that's when you start, you come up with a number. Okay, for example, let's say that if you're somebody that earns $100,000, a year,
Mhm.
when you retire, do you want to continue having that, that lifestyle and that standard of living?
Oh, this is the paycheck part.
Yes. So
Okay.
this is so you have like your foundation, which is the protection.
Yes.
Then you have like your accumulation, and
Yes.
then you have your distribution.
Okay.
And that one is, you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Okay, and now
So
this is before, after, during, or whatever your determined retirement age is what you
correct.
I understand. Okay. This is
If it's somebody like me, or probably even you, we're gonna probably work until like God retires us.
I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I would
What
like
I do. So
but perspective, because I don't want to take I don't want myself to mistake that as the get up 40, 50, 70 hours a
right,
week type work, right? This is going to be things that we enjoy that may or may not produce a actual paycheck, but
right,
fulfill other parts of our lives. So I understand. So what you're saying is to have a supplemental, income or
right.
diversification of finances to offset any other, things. So food, clothes,
Exactly.
shelter is covered by X, which leaves us the leisure to do these other things that we
Exactly.
want.
So that's the number that you need to come, like what, and some of the things that get also taken into considerations, like inflation,
Uh,
what money was 20 years ago is not the same value. You lose purchasing power.
yes.
So, but one of the things is that is I usually tell people, I know you probably don't want to retire. It's not something you think about, but
Mhm.
always think about the option of when do you want to have the option to slow down.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So that's that. And then the bonus part is the legacy part.
Is that on top of
That's
distribution?
on top of the distribution.
I understand. Okay. Tell me a little
So
bit more about legacy.
so legacy is more, what I see with individuals is some of them, they want to leave something for their family. They want to be able, so that's when you start planning your estate planning. How are you going to be able to transfer your wealth to the next generation? Um,
Mhm.
and some people that, probably don't have kids, they will go ahead and want to transfer their wealth maybe to a cause that's close to them,
Mhm.
something that they're passionate about.
Yeah.
So that's the part, that's the bonus part.
Okay, so most people make it to the distribution part, but then on top of that, you can also encourage a legacy. Now, just in planning, do you take legacy into consideration at the protection phase?
You do.
Or, you know, at the beginning of the journey, you do
You do.
take it into
You
consideration.
definitely do.
Nice. Okay.
It's always, you start with the end in mind,
I love that. Okay.
but you have to also be flexible because
Mhm.
things change.
Of course.
Your mind changes about things. So but you definitely want to start with the end in mind. So
But
if legacy is something that's important to you, then you start, planning for it
you,
from the beginning.
yes, I love that. Okay. So then what makes all of this plan actionable? So it sounds great. And actually, you know, we talked about this in the previous video, which if you guys have not seen, please click the link below so you can subscribe and get alerts on when these wonderful videos are coming out. Jessica did a wonderful interview on financial literacy. So with that, we talked about mindset in that video, right? So
Yes.
we shifted our mindset. You know, we can definitely wrap our heads around this whole, you know, magic future number that we need. What makes that whole protection, accumulation, distribution, legacy process? How do you kickstart that? How do you get started with something like that?
Uh, like I said in the previous interview, you have to get a team.
Oh,
Find somebody that listens to you and that actually really pays attention to what's important to you.
I see.
Are your finance, and I think a good and I'll give you an example. I had a friend and she hadn't been in this country for very long. She finally got her green card, but she's always wanted to buy a home.
Okay.
And one of the things that I had to, when I looked at her salary, I was like, well, that's, depending on, for me, a home is like a 4-bedroom home,
Mm,
3,000 square foot space. So, but I know how much they rent for. And I know that based on her income, the bank was not going to be funding her home
uh,
loan.
mhm.
So I had to get clear. I was like, well, what do you mean by a home? Because a home is a home, but a home can be a condo, can be a townhome, can be, a 4-bedroom house, or it can be an apartment. I mean, a home is what you make it.
Yes.
So one of the things I probed her a little more. I was like, oh, well, tell me more about that. Like, what do you mean you want to buy a home? Did you mean like a 4-bedroom house, or were you like open to getting like a townhome or like a condo or
Exactly.
like a co-op kind of a space? And she's like, no, she goes, I don't care if it's like a townhome or, a condo. She's like, I just want something that's mine. I don't want to be paying rent into something that I'm not going to be owning, but I want to be able to start putting, money into something that I actually own.
Yes.
And I think that that's part of being a good advisor is really listening to your clients and also identifying and getting clarity on what it is that they want.
Right. What that picture looks like for them.
Exactly.
I love that.
Because everybody has different interpretations of what, for me and what a home is. For her, it was just a place of her own.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, great. Then I can make the numbers work here. I'm like,
Oh,
for this. You
I
know,
love this. You always, Jessica, make these so enjoyable and so practical and easy to apply or easy to assess. Let me say it like that, because you know you still have to get the team, get the right information, get the
right.
education like you encouraged us to do in the last video. But I truly, truly thank you for sharing everything you have. And I just want to remind everybody about your webinar. The description will be in, I mean, the link will be in the description box below. So please join Jessica for more tips on financial literacy and growing into your legacy. And thank you again for joining us on the road to recovery.
Thank you so much. This was